Well, you've heard the PSA, call before you dig. Anytime ground is broken on a new house or even just a tree planted, the person with the tools has to call 811. That's so utilities like water or gas can come out and mark their underground pipelines and help you avoid catastrophe, like built-up gas causing a dangerous explosion. Now, a few years ago, we started to hear more calls about cut gas lines over and over. It seemed like at least once a week somewhere here in the city limits. So we spent months digging through state records to see how often it's actually happening and why. Most days at my little playhouse, it's music, games, and learning. But one day last December,
we had just barely finished doing our center activities in the morning for our morning circle time.
They got a frightening call. A gas line had been hit outside the daycare, meaning they had to evacuate.
It was a little adrenaline rush first, getting everybody out, making sure everybody was safe.
More than 30 kids filing out into the cold.
Teachers are assisting the children, keeping them calm, while the other teachers are making the phone calls to start calling parents immediately.
It's a 911 call we're hearing more and more. A look at Railroad Commission records shows about 85 damaged gas lines just in 2018. In 15 of those, families or businesses had to be evacuated. In many cases, the person digging wasn't being careful enough, not using the right tools or procedures.
There's been a lot of fiber that's been installed within our city for probably the last year or two. And so those have been going into established neighborhoods
where the pipes are decades old, mapped out and tracked by hand.
A lot of times those pipes are a little bit difficult to locate.
But in nearly half the cases, the line wasn't marked accurately by Atmos contractor in the first place.
Sometimes those lines are mismarked due to maps that have had landscape changes as far as street widenings or curbs being replaced.
Atmos says as the city grows, things change, but the maps and field notes don't.
What we've been doing in some of those neighborhoods is trying to go back and locate our pipe, and we install a new piece of technology called marker balls.
And on any new pipelines, something called locator wire. And come March of 2020, a whole new system called Locust Map.
We'll be using a tablet and then a GPS.
That will help us in the future just to be more safe.
But another reason we've seen an uptick in gas leak calls, a change in the law, meaning now every time a gas line is hit, 911 has to be notified.
A lot of those small things that normally we never knew about are now having to be reported.
Over about the last 2 years, the fire department has felt the increase in calls, but they say they'd rather be there just in case.
Or sometimes it's a bigger leak, and we may have several units on the scene for several hours just to make sure that we're not reaching an explosion potential anywhere.
I think it's just a way for the state to provide extra protection, for our public and our communities.
Atmos Compliance Manager Mike Culp says to curb repeat offenses, the Railroad Commission will investigate and slap down a $2,500 fine to whoever's responsible, whether that's them or the person digging.
For the most part, every damage is paid, a fine is paid by someone.
But we found not everyone faces a fine every time. 28 incidents last year have no penalty listed. The state code says penalties are doled out on a case-by-case basis.
The Railroad Commission is good about listening and justifying whether they should fine you or not.
Atmos says sometimes it's just a matter of educating new excavators about how to dig safely, and that fee will be waived.
But can we expect to hear more of these as the city grows, or do you think that these will start to lessen as you start to use those new technologies?
I think with our growth in the city that we're just going to continue to have more and more pipelines installed. Everybody's digging and there's more homes being built, more businesses. And so there's always the possibility that those could continue. We work every day to try to combat that and educate contractors on safe digging. We try to embrace all new technology for damage prevention, and we'll continue to do that.
Back at my little playhouse, they say it was a learning experience for them too.
I think it's just kind of helped us prepare for the next time we have to do an emergency plan.
Yeah, in 85 of those cases last year, 15 people did not call that 811 notification center before they started to dig. So it's also important to remember one easy extra step, one phone call can save a lot of trouble and a possible deadly situation. So call that number or log on to our website now for some more helpful safe digging tips.